Welcome to my Season 53 retrospective. I will be breaking down all the notable events that I personally went through, as well as the community as a whole went through during Season 53, which will go down as one of the most important seasons of Nitrotype of all time. Before we get started, if you would like to see all the sites I used in this video for information, as well as the songs used, their links will be in the description of the video. Also, I highly recommend checking out my other videos that I made regarding Nitrotype Season 53 that I posted throughout the course of the season. Their links will also be in the description of the video. Disclaimer, before we start, when it comes to stats being displayed, Nitrotype ends their days at 5 o'clock PM MST for their daily stats. Meanwhile, NTCOMPs ends their daily stats at 9 o'clock PM MST. I will clarify throughout the video which amount of races per day I am talking about when it is relevant to make a distinction. Whenever I talk about how many races at the end of the day I have performed, I will constantly be referring to Nitrotype's daily stats tracker. If you enjoy watching this video, please consider subscribing, since this video took a long time to make. Well, without further ado, let's get started. May 25th, Season 53 begins. Now, when this season started, I had just ended Season 52 with a solid number of races, 4,905 to be exact, and didn't really plan on grinding all too much for it. Nitrotype had recently gotten rid of King of the Race cars, so I didn't feel motivated to do any racing. Plus, I had more important things to worry about. I was on my last 6 days of senior year to start with, so there were a lot of important events coming up for the last couple days of my high school career. I graduated on May 31st and pondered what I was going to do with the summer ahead of me. I did do a bit of racing, however, during this time, just not enough to be considered competitive or super active. May 25th through June 1st. I don't know how many races I did during these days, as I don't have the race logs for it. During this period of time, I was playing on the Nitrotype League's beta through a back door that was somewhat publicly known. On May 27th, Nitrotype Leagues was officially released, and I began in Learner Leagues. June 1st. I promoted from Learner League to Novice League. I do not know how many races I did that day, but it must have been around 250, considering how many races I had later in Novice League by just June 4th. Not much went on this day, but this is about the time I decided I might actually try going competitive this season. I ended the day off with 197 races. June 3rd. I decided that starting tomorrow, I would begin going active. As you can see here, the only thing of note was me getting 141 words per minute in a race I did that day. I ended the day off with 27 races. June 4th. This was the day the season really began for me. I decided that I was going to make it my mission to get at least 300 races a day on both Nitrotype daily stats as well as NTCOMPs. You can see here that about an hour and a half after the daily stats had ended for that day, I was at 874 races in Novice League. From the next slide here, you can see I had done 399 races in the last 24 hours. I ended the day with 300 races with an average work per minute of 120, which is the fastest 300 races I have ever done. June 5th. I, along with Zisc, asked Ilikecheeseburger to pull Team Talk out of retirement for this season for one last time. He agrees and officially pulls Team Talk out of retirement. Later, in order to make a comp, he finds out about NTCOMPs and puts our team on there. I also recorded me racing a bunch of Nitrotype YouTubers on this day, which I posted like 3 weeks later or something like that. It's not that good of a video, but you should give it a watch to see some of the up-and-coming Nitrotype YouTubers racing against me. I got 500 races on this day. You can see here I am ranked number 1 in my Novice League. Keep in mind that this is the first batch of Novice League. This whole week Lily78 was keeping pace with me, but after this point I left her in the dust throughout the remainder of Novice Leagues. This was also the first time I could see how active I was compared to other players currently being competitive this season due to NTCOMPs. As you can see here, I was placed number 6. You can see by the time it is 11:32 PM at night, and this is due to the fact that I pulled my first all-nighter of the season in order to get to my goal of 100,000 races faster, and to place very high on the new leaderboards of NTCOMPs for the season. I ended the day with 500 races and had an average of 118 words per minute, which is the fastest 500 races I have ever performed in a day. June 6th. I had raced throughout the entirety of the morning, and by 6 a.m. I was ranked number 1 for the first time in 24 hours during the season. As you can see here, after my long night of racing, I was far ahead of the competition in my novice league at this point. I ended the day at 694 races with 114 work per minute average, the vast majority of which was in the morning. June 7th. I got into the rhythm of waking up in the early morning and doing a lot of races. At some point this season, I wanted to break my top speed that I hadn't broken in almost 4 years. So I went as fast as possible in every race. I did, and this shows through the multiple 140s I got every single day throughout the season, including this 143 displayed here. This screenshot shows what my league looked like 1 minute before I promoted to Rookie League. I kept racing later into the night and retained my high position on the 24-hour leaderboard, only going down to third from all the races I did the night previously. I ended the day with a total race amount of 459 with an average of 118 words per minute. On NTCOMPs, I got 670 races with an average of 117 words per minute. I would like it to be known that NTCOMPs is more accurate to my true daily stats, as it resets later in the day at 9 p.m. for me. June 8th. As a morale boost, me, Ilikecheeseburger, and Pogba Caleb instructed people on our team to perform an old tradition of team talk, to change our cars to the Liberty Fastback and change our names to the Fatsback. Unfortunately, what me and Pogba didn't know was that Nitrotype's new auto name change AI flagged our usernames and changed it to a randomly generated name. In my case, Stylish Green Rabbit, which I was stuck with for 7 whole days. This day was very weird, as I had a business class to attend to for pretty much the entire day. In order to keep my 300-day streak on NTCOMPs and Nitrotype daily stats, I had to do 50+ races during lunch break, and do the other 250 when I got home in order to keep up with my streak. I did 356 races on this day with an average of 118 words per minute. In NTCOMPs, I got 316 races with an average speed of 115 words per minute. June 9th. Same thing as the day previously, I had business class the entire day. Luckily, I had managed to do enough races in the afternoon of June 8th for me to get enough races to get my 300+ races that day. During lunch break, I got to infinite level 100. As you can see here, I got 144 words per minute when I got home. And in this one, you can see how much of our team was using the car and displaying Team Talk's morale and resolve to race this season. In this screenshot, you can see how many races I had done in the first 52 hours of Rookie Leagues. I had done 423 races this day with an average word per minute of 116 words per minute. On NTCOMPs, I had gotten 403 races with an average words per minute of 114. June 10th. I wake up early in the morning and start doing some races. I got 171 races done between 6 and 8:30 a.m. I took a break, and around 25 minutes later, I continued my racing. When 5 o'clock hit, it said I had done 983 races during that 24-hour period. During that time period, I had averaged 118 words per minute, which is very impressive, as I had never averaged 118 for such a large amount of races before. At this point, I was blowing past my competition in my league during my session. My session was around 600 to 700 at this time. At 6 p.m., I had done over 1,000 races in the last 24 hours, once again becoming number 1 in the 24-hour leaderboard on NTCOMPs. I did more racing, and by 9, I was around 850 races in my session. When it hit 9 p.m., NTCOMPs showed that I had done 1,019 races during the day of June 10th, with an average speed of 115 words per minute. I realized how tired I was, but I asked my mom if I could pull an all-nighter, as getting to an 800 race session was already extremely rare. I pursued onwards throughout the night. At 8:42, I had done 1,000 races during the day, 829 of which were in one session. You can see in this screenshot I had done so many races, I was ranked 2nd place during the week, only behind Ilikecheeseburger, who was sandbagging for race efficiency, which means I most likely had more points than anyone else during that season. After 8:42, I went for full efficiency throughout the night. At 10:52, I had gone to 1,000 races in one session. I was averaging 90 races per hour, no breaks, just me alone in my room at night, doing nothing else but racing. At 2:33 a.m., I got to race session 13:33, and I've beaten my Nitrotype session record of 13:37 at around 2:40 a.m. At 4:39 a.m., I concluded my session at 1,500 races after the session had lasted for 20 hours at 15 minutes. At this point, I had done nothing but racing, so I had no idea what my league standing was in Rookie League. So when I looked at it, I saw I had obliterated the person in second place. Over the course of 22 hours and 36 minutes, I had done 1,671 races, which to this day is the most amount of races I have done in a 24-hour period. This will forever be known as my greatest session in Nitrotype history. June 11th, 4:50 in the morning, I went to bed and slept the entire day until I woke up at around 2:30 p.m. in the morning. Well, not in the morning, but later in the day. Because I had done an absurd amount of races in the morning earlier for my session, I didn't have to do any racing, but I still did a few anyway. I ended the day with 1,000 races, which is why I did a few races anyways, so I could get to the 1,000 race mark for the first time on my Nitrotype daily stats. As expected, my average had lowered to 112 as I had gone slower as the night had continued on through the session. On NTCOMPs, I did 889 races with an average of 110 words per minute. Also, around this time, I had gotten to my 7th day in a row of 300 races a day. June 12th. You can see here how active we were as a team at this point. Here, you can see how far ahead that session put me in my rookie league, as well as how many races I had done this month already in just the first week and a half alone. Most of these races were just from the last 7 days. At this point, I also decided to do some Nitromath games as a backup just in case I don't make it to Legends League before getting to 100,000 races on Nitrotype. While I was grinding out Nitrotype races, I completely forgot to screenshot my 90,000th race. This is me realizing a few minutes later that I had gone past 90k races. In this screenshot, you can see I was ranked 6th on the 24-hour leaderboard and ranked right below me and Jose and Ilikecheeseburger. I like to screenshot moments when we are all racing at peak performance in tandem. This screenshot I made a YouTube short about as I convinced Onion to join our team while he was team hopping for a bit. And this shows us all three, Ilikecheeseburger, me, and Onion, all being on Team Talk and taking the top 3 spots for the week on Nitrotype. This is proven by Onion being back on Team DTR a few minutes later. I screenshotted this because this displays the most amount of races I've ever done in a 7-week span. I never got ranked first, even though I was 1.40 races away from overtaking Ilikecheeseburger for the number 1 spot earlier on June 11th. 4,817 is the most races I have ever done in 1 week to this day. I achieved 378 races with an average of 118 words per minute. On NTCOMPs, I had gotten 503 races with an average of 116 words per minute on that day. I also created a leaderboard of my own for the top 10 players this season, as well as honorable mentions, of which I kept increasing the point requirements to keep pace with the season. I was ranked 3rd at the time for this season, only behind Mama Bear 3 and Onion. At this point in time, it was more accurate of a top 10 than NTCOMPs, as it ranked by points and had people's accumulative points, and not just the points they had acquired since they joined NTCOMPs. From this point onward, Onion would keep the number 1 spot the entirety of the season. June 13th. You can see here how many of us were active by how many Team Talk members were using the Liberty Fastback. I screenshotted and put it on the Team Talk Discord to increase morale. Also, I don't have the exact dates, but me, Ilikecheeseburger, and Matt Isabat were constantly hosting comps with cash prizes. I hosted a $25 million comp, which I posted a video about on my channel, which is to run a week. I also hit 1 million points this season on this day as well. All this racing had put me extremely far ahead in my league, including the botter that was in 2nd place. I accomplished 349 races, and on NTCOMPs, I just barely hit my 300 race quota with an average words per minute of 114. June 14th. This screenshot shows me racing against Coop and Pickles, who really motivated me throughout the season to compete and race against them. At this point, Onion had told me that he wanted to get 10 million points this season, so he was constantly topping the leaderboards almost every day, and competition was fierce this day. So even though I had 591 races in the last 24 hours, I was only ranked 14th. I also hit 91,000 races during this day, as well as promote to pro leagues. This screenshot I made showing every person I have friended that has over 300,000 races, most of which were banned during the ban wave of May 12th through May 15th of 2024. I have them friended because I like to archive things, and one of the things I archive is every account that has ever had over 300 races, which I update in a massive spreadsheet every time someone gets 300,000 races, the link of which is in the description below. Later this day, I noticed that I had hit a mind-boggling 4,000 races in one league, which at the time was shocking to most in the Nitrotype community, as no one had really done that before. This was before competitions started really ramping up. I intended to stop there, but a YouTuber named Conkle had invited me to a race, and since he was getting popular at the time because he had recently obtained the 5,000 subscriber car, I knew I had to join a race, and I could actually feature it in his video. You can see here that he sent me cash since I beat him in one of the races. 4,003 is the most amount of races I have ever done in a single league, as well as having 4.6 million XP. For reference, 4.6 million XP means I had gained 115 levels in 1 week alone. You can see Team Talk lost some motivation to keep racing this week, as after 5 days we had only done around 10,000 races, which was considerably less than the last league we were in. I also hit 6,666 races in the month of June on this day. I ended the day with 514 races. On NTCOMPs, I got 502 races, with an average word per minute of 112. June 15th. I reached level 200 on this day, as well as reclaiming my spot in the top 10 for 24 hours. I was still trying to maintain a high average throughout the month. As you can see here, I got 142 words per minute. At this time, Vielle had won a title competition hosted by Mirciy and was properly given the title a day prior before it was released to the public. By the end of the day, I had already gotten to 500 plus races in pro leagues, in which I was accompanied by Augman and Sky in my league as well. At this time, I was finally able to change my name back to Terrific Typist, as it had been 7 days since I had changed my name. I ended the day with 385 races. On NTCOMPs, I had gotten 369 races, with an average word per minute of 115. June 16th. At this time, Ilikecheeseburger was implementing a strategy in where he would play on 2 different Nitrotype accounts at the same time. So he made an alt called Ilikecheeseburger and raced on his main at 19 words per minute on one device, while simultaneously typing 19 words per minute on his alt on a different device. This resulted in him appearing twice on the leaderboard, and he had done it so much that I was positioned between an Ilikecheeseburger sandwich on the weekly leaderboards, as seen here. At this time, I still did friend racing with people every once in a while, including what I wasn't confident in at the time was a botter that would take over the leaderboard soon to come. I also had an influx of friend requests, some of which were pretty notable people, including Greek Freak, a known person with the spell checker title, and Malachi, also known as One, who was another person with 300,000 races I could add to my friends list. I ended the day with 304 races. However, on NTCOMPs, I ended the day with 359 races, with an average of 114 words per minute. I was also nearing the 1 million XP mark in Pro League. However, this was the first time in leagues I had trouble maintaining my top spot, as I was defeated in activity from the previous week. Here is a backlog of the last almost 2 weeks of racing. In this screenshot, I was collecting more people to add to the honorable mentions of my spreadsheet for the top players this season. This turned out to be a good thing, as one of them would get banned a few hours later for botting. At this time, I was ranked 7th on my season leaderboard. June 17th. I started the day off strong with 142 words per minute after my first dozen races. I had also gotten to 92,000 races at this time. At this time as well, a Nitrotype wiki admin had joined our team and I screenshotted it because I thought it was cool. I later on began to do some investigating into botters of this season and noticed Frenzy had an alarming amount of suspicious racers, chief among them being joined my team now. He kept team hopping though, but he seemed to have botting ults with similar names also racing on Frenzy. During this time, we had plumbing issues as one of our bath pipes bursted and we quickly had to find a new place of residency as we had no bathroom. I ended the day with 399 races. June 18th. I took another screenshot of an updated friend list with more 300k players on it. We had to move into a hotel as our house was under maintenance. While I was at the hotel, I commuted to my house in the early morning, then raced the rest of the day. This change in setting did not hinder my racing, just made it more challenging to schedule around. I also got 8,000 races at this time for the month of June and was closing on my PB of 8,702 for most active month of Nitrotype. I had some fierce competition in my league due to my decrease in activity, but was still able to hold my number 1 spot for the time being. This was me racing with Wolfey and Typing Cat, 2 other YouTubers who were posting Nitrotype content around the same time I was during the season. Both their channels will be in the description below. At this time, Onion had told me how he wanted to get 10 million points before the season ends, so I did some calculations based off his current racing activity and told him he would have to do more racing in order to get there. At this time, I kept doing Nitromath games during random points of the season in order to advance me and my team in leagues there as well. I ended the day with 357 races. June 19th. Here, you could see me and Cheese had mismatched races at this time, and because he was racing considerably slower than I was, I had a massive point advantage. This was also the day that Join My Team Now joined our team. At the time, I wasn't aware of auto stickers, so I thought he was a legit racer because I would race him and he would always sticker back. This would later have disastrous consequences. I ended the day with 266 races, although I did not break my streak on NTCOMPs as I was able to get over 300 races on there. However, I do not know the exact total. June 20th. The racers in my league start being less active, so I gain a somewhat substantial lead ahead of them. At this point, Onion was sandbagging, so if I was going over 120 words per minute, he would sometimes be spotted in my speed zone, in which he would decimate me, as well he was trying to be at the top of the 120 to 140 word per minute speed zone. I also reached and recorded level 250. The video will be in the description. I also hit 15 races in a row, getting 300 races on NTCOMPs. This was the last day for my 25 million NTCOMP, in which everyone who isn't me, Ilikecheeseburger, or Ilikecheeseburger's alt will get 25 mil, 10 mil, 5 million, and 2.5 million for 4th and 5th place. AllState had won the competition, although technically I would have won if I did not exclude myself from the competition. Nearing the end of the day, I had almost 2.4 million XP, which left me comfortably in first place for tomorrow when I would promote to Ace Leagues. This was a day when I surpassed my personal best of 8,702 for most active month of my Nitrotype career, which I got in December of 2019, which is the last time I did 300 races a day. Except this time, I had done it much earlier and faster than me 4.5 years ago performed it. It was at this point when Wildflower started ramping up her average races per day from her usual 300 to 400 to around 600 in order to get to 1 million races faster. This screenshot shows me collecting more data from my spreadsheet, in which I was currently placed 7th in. I was ranked 17th for that week in racing at the time. I ended the day with 399 races. June 21st. I got 140 words per minute, and then got 140 words per minute again, 4 races later, which at the time was the closest 140s I had ever gotten. This screenshot is the last one taken right before I promoted Ace Leagues in Nitrotype. Our team was still holding out strong, having done 8,600 plus races in the last 5 days, and still routinely getting first every league we participated in, and at this point we were ranked 7th this season on NTCOMPs, although we would have been higher if we had joined earlier. By the end of the day, I had hit 17 of my 300 race streak. I had done 300 races this day. June 22nd. Not much of this day is recorded. I was able to get the 300 races done that day on NTCOMPs, which I had ended, and I also ended the day with 369 races. June 23rd. I bought the early bird renewal package so I could get an extra 12 months of Nitrotype Gold, as well as a rare card and title. I also thought it was a trail, but it was a nitro to my disappointment. At this time, our team had gotten a second win, as multiple active players had joined our team, and we did around 8,000 races that day. Here I am seen racing with one of them. I also got 144 words per minute during that day. The screenshot shows the amount of talk players who were in the top 10 for 24 hours in the entire season, with there being 6. Unfortunately, what we did not know at this time was that most of them were botting. I ended the day with 255 races. However, I did around 250 races or so in the afternoon, after 5, so I kept up my 300 race streak on NTCOMPs. June 24th. 2 more people joined our team who are really active. One was joined my team now, who was team hopping from talk to frenzy constantly, and the other was built different, who as far as I can tell was legit for this season. I had a trip coming up as well as my licensing test, so I realized I probably want to get to 100,000 races before those things happen, so I set off to increase my average from 300 to 500 races a day. I also realized that if I was going to get 100k races before July 10th, possibly, then I would have to continue with Nitromath games, enough to promote in case I wouldn't be able to get to Legends Leagues in Nitrotype in time. At this point in Ace Leagues, my recent lack of activity had led to me struggling to hold first place, but that was soon to change. I also hit 10,000 races this month, which is a video you can watch, link in the description. You can see my plan in full effect as I completed my first of several 500 race sessions. This led to me having to play in a different area of the hotel we were staying at, as the room I was currently staying at was very small. I also hit level 300 on this day. After this, I looked at my friends list to see everyone else who was level 300 or above. This is me friend racing all the most active players on talk at the time. For the first time in a week, I had gotten back into the top 10 for the 24-hour leaderboard, and I had hit day 19 of my 300-day streak. I ended the day with 570 races, mostly from the 500 race session I had done that day. Also, later at night, Ilikecheeseburger's 2 alts, called Ilikecheeseburger and Hi, were both banned by Nitrotype. On NTCOMPs, I had gotten 612 races, with an average of 114 words per minute. June 25th. Pretty early into the morning, I got a new high speed of 150 words per minute, which is a big deal to me, as I hadn't been able to break my top speed of 148 words per minute since August of 2020, which is almost 4 years ago. I also got 95,000 races on this day as well. Soon after I got 95,000 races, Ilikecheeseburger's main account was banned off of Nitrotype. This was most likely due to the fact that he was racing on multiple accounts at the exact same speed, and most suspiciously of all, with almost 100% accuracy every time, which was flagged by Nitrotype's auto-ban system and false banned his account. We scrambled to get his account unbanned but failed. Our team slowly became infested with more and more botters, and Ilikecheeseburger couldn't kick them due to his banishment. Even worse, the active players became somewhat demotivated due to him being banned. Meanwhile, I was finishing another 500 race session and maintained my lead in Ace Leagues. I had finished the day with 547 races. On NTCOMPs, I got 503 races with an average of 116 words per minute. This began my final stretch to 100,000 races. June 26th. I wanted to not only make this my most active month ever, but also my fastest, and currently my highest average in a month was 115 words per minute, and I was currently averaged to some miracle 116 words per minute despite how many races I was doing. So I kept doing races as fast as possible, so getting 140s was a semi-regular occurrence. I finished yet another 500 race session that day. I also continued doing Nitromath games sporadically to keep promoting to different leagues. I kept pulling my dead team TF with me as I kept promoting different leagues as well. This was also the time when NTCOMPs started labeling different players and teams as bots if they had suspicious activity on their accounts, and if a team had multiple of these suspicious accounts racing for them. I ended the day with 572 races. On NTCOMPs, I got 536 races, with an average of 114 words per minute. June 27th. When I started racing again, when I looked at NTCOMPs, and it showed 3 botters on our team. This wasn't good, as there was no way of getting rid of them, as our captain, Ilikecheeseburger, was banned and unable to kick them. Usually, I would get 140 plus words per minute races when racing against the Wampus, and this race was no exception. I also got to 96,000 races on this day, which is no surprise since I had been doing 500 races every day. I took this screenshot as I was still in denial that these two accounts were the same person, when in fact they were, and they were both botting. I did another 500 race session this day, as well as also passing my season point record set back in season 27, which is a video that will be linked in the description. I took another screenshot to catalog my races for future use. I also got to level 350 on this day. The people in my league kept trying to get me to friend race them, which is not favorable as they would increase their XP and get higher up on my league. I had gone 4 days in a row on NTCOMPs, getting over 500 races. I was ranked 6th on my leaderboard at this time. I ended the day with 533 races. On NTCOMPs, I got 603 races with an average of 114 words per minute. June 28th. I started off with doing a bunch of races in the morning, as well as collecting information from my spreadsheet. These two people featured I suspected were botters, as they are both on teams where their behavior was very suspicious. I also began advocating for our team to combat against the false banishment of our captain, Ilikecheeseburger, by changing my name to Free Cheeseburger and using the hot dog mobile. Meanwhile, I was able to get to 11th on the daily leaderboards at this time. Our team was given the botting label on NTCOMPs. I advanced to rank number 9 on the 24-hour leaderboard. During this time, our team was being given a bad rep, and you can see here at one point, 5 people in our team were all next to each other on the season leaderboard. 3 of these people were botters. Osei, join my team now, and now his alt, join Team Hound. Our team was doing extremely well in the last 7 days, racking up 34,000 races, but I knew that a lot of these races were most likely done illegitimately, and there was nothing I could do to stop the infestation of botters. Both Join My Team Now and his alt were dominating the leaderboards, and they were both racing on our team. I had reached 12,121 races for the month of June on this day, as well as level 360. Later, due to my intervention, I was able to get Join My Team Now banned off of Nitrotype, which got rid of half the problem. However, his alt still remained. I still kept up on Nitromath from time to time, so I could keep promoting in the leagues, as I was fully aware I would probably not make it to Legends League to Nitrotype. The amount of 500 race sessions kept me far ahead of everyone else in Ace Leagues. Every once in a while, if I switched tabs right before a race loaded in and then switched back to Nitrotype tab, it glitches and oversaturates the textures on the racetrack. I then proceeded to promote to Expert Leagues on this day. When I got to that league, I noticed every single top player this season was in it. I'm talking Wildflower, Onion, Yo Devstar, who was a botter, Join Team Hound, also another botter, MD9, another botter, DylanJ, Hans, AllState, and Jaden. I knew that if I'm getting 100k in the next week or so, then there is a good chance I might not promote to the next league. I also randomly raced Dragon Typer. Actually, throughout the season, I randomly raced a lot of YouTubers, including Ace Typer, Penguin Typer, Dragon Typer, and Nitrotypist on multiple occasions. Here you can see how the leagues were advancing. And I couldn't do much racing as I was at a resort on this day. Here you can see me out racing all the botters on our team, which felt very good. I also reached a streak of 5 for 500 races a day on NTCOMPs. Near the end of the day, I hit 97,000 races and called it a night. However, before I went to bed, I looked to see how many races I would have to average if I wanted to be done by July 8th, which would be right before my trip to Georgia, and went to bed. I ended the day with 448 races, with an average of 112, which I believe. I ended the day with 448 races, and I believe 504 races, with an average of 112, which is what I ended up with on NTCOMPs. June 29th. We're getting ready to move to an Airbnb, so I couldn't do much racing, but I still did at least 300 races this day, including this 144 words per minute that I got. When you see Wildflower in a league at 8th, you know you're probably cooked, and probably won't make it against the other grinders in your league. Having Onion in our league made it impossible for anyone to get the top spot. Even the botter Wolfey Youtube couldn't catch up, and this was day 2 of expert leagues. I ended the day with 267 races, which ended my 500-day streak on NTCOMPs. June 30th. This was the day we had to get moving to our new Airbnb, as our house was still under maintenance. I made this screenshot because I could not believe a Wampus went that fast in a race when my average was only 120 words per minute. Because of DSC, the month ended at 11 p.m. instead of 12 p.m. like it usually does, and thus I ended June with 12,840 races, with an average record-breaking average of 116 words per minute, making it officially my fastest and most active month of my Nitrotype career. I was hoping to get to 13,000 races, but the month ended early unbeknownst to me until 11:39 p.m. or a.m. I ended the day with 512 races. July 1st. Not much recorded for this day. I was getting settled into the new Airbnb, so I barely got 300 races done this day. I ended the day off with 198 races. July 2nd. Pretty early in the morning, I got to 98,000 races, as well as infinite level 400. Later that morning, I got 149 words per minute, which also broke my 148 PB from almost 4 years ago, which is a major motivation boost, as it made me realize that I was truly getting faster. I looked at my league standing, and while normally this would put me at or near the top of my league, this was a whole nother league entirely. There were botters and sweats racing in my league. On NTCOMPs, I believe I ended it at 301 races, with an average of 107 words per minute, and ended my day on Nitrotype with a total of 420 races. July 3rd. I began planning my 100,000th race, and needed around 1,800 more races to catch up. I informed the captains of a few notable teams, Team Talk, SSH, Rebels, and EMZ. I also realized that I needed to do an absurd amount of races. I looked at my league standing and saw myself in 11th place with 2.1 million XP. I later got 99,000 races on that day. On NTCOMPs, I got 853 races with an average word per minute of 109. I ended the day off with 500 races in NT stats. In the hours between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., I did 353 races in order to maximize how many races I was going to do before 9. Near the end of the day, Onion and Dylan were falsely banned, as many people mass reported them due to their almost inhuman amounts of racing activity. I saw this as my opportunity to possibly promote in leagues. July 4th. This was it. This was my penultimate day of my journey to 100,000 races. I was at 2.7 million XP in the morning, and I began my racing. My plan was to do around 700 races this day, so I could do 300 the next day, get 100k, and end my streak with 31 days in a row of 300 races on NTCOMPs. This screenshot is my progress throughout the day in advancing farther in my expert league. I got to 99,600 races as well, and I advanced to 8th in my leagues. As hitting 1,000 races in one day, this was me hitting 1,000 races in one day for the second time this season. I ended the day at 660 races, which put me at 1,013 races in a day, which is the most I have ever done on my Nitrotype statistics page. I averaged 108 words per minute, as I didn't care about my average speed, since it wasn't June anymore. I thought about tomorrow, as I looked at my 30th day of 300 races per day. I wondered if I could manage to promote while also getting my 100,000th race, which had been scheduled to happen after my league would end. I would need to maximize my XP efficiency and hope that the people below me wouldn't outrace me, as I knew DylanJ was gonna not make it because he was banned. I started doing calculations based off my current XP efficiency throughout the league, and I saw it was just barely possible if only no one else did any more racing, which I knew was very unlikely. July 5th. I would start my day knowing I would have to do 339 races for the day, and I began with getting level 450. I kept recalculating how much more XP I could get out of the limited racing I had to do. I kept approaching closer and closer, passing the 99,850 mark. I recorded a video about how insanely hard my leagues were, which you can watch using the link in the description. I had around 100 more races to do, so in the meantime I did some more gaming on Nitromath, because I was on the verge of not qualifying for the next league, because for some reason competition became quite fierce during that league. Then the time came for the final 100 races. I started streaming it on Discord, but it had become too laggy, so I had to stop. For the last 9 races, starting from race 99,999, I did a bunch of friend racing. I stopped in racing at 99,999 races. I then did as many Nitromath games as possible so I could get into the bottom 7 to promote. As 5 o'clock approached, I saw myself stuck in expert leagues in Nitrotype, the first time I didn't promote. The plan was simple. We were gonna get on Wildflower's racetrack and hope she joins it at 5:30. Waited for a while and decided to go on Volatile's track instead. I sat there in anticipation for everyone to arrive, and then it started. I quickly pushed record as soon as I saw the race load, and then, after a sort of scuffed race, I got the majestic 100,000 races. This was it. This was the pinnacle of my Nitrotype career. It was a massive shame that I didn't get the car for it. My 100,000th race video will be linked in the description. I didn't do any racing for the rest of the day. However, I did do some games in Nitromath, as I was able to promote to expert leagues on there. I ended the day with 339 races. July 16th. I did one race. It was my 100,000th race, but under Nitrotype stats, it was technically on June 6th. I did some Nitromath games during this time. I also took my life insurance licensing test on this day. Also displayed was my 300 race streak about to end. July 7th through July 14th. I didn't do a single race during this time period. However, that doesn't mean nothing happened this week. Throughout this week, I did Nitromath games every once in a while. On July 10th, I took a 4-day trip to Georgia to attend a convention. On July 12th, I fall into Ace Leagues in Nitrotype after a week of inactivity. I promote to Champion League in Nitromath, as well as NT Leaderboards by Tommy14, getting restored to weekly updates, unbeknownst to me. On July 13th, Ilikecheeseburger gets unbanned by the admins. However, he doesn't return to being very active. At this point, Talk is done being competitive in the season. Say except for me and Zisc, as Zisc becomes one of the first 5 people to get to Masters Leagues first. On July 14th, I return from my trip in Georgia. July 15th. I return from my Nitrotype hiatus to Nitrotype and continue racing, although at a pace nowhere near what I was doing in June. I did 19 races this day. July 16th, I do 7 races this day. July 17th, I do 15 races. July 18th, I started wanting to get out of Ace Leagues and started ramping up my Nitrotype activity. I do 152 races on this day. July 19th, I don't have to do any races to promote to Expert Leagues. I stay in Nitromath Champions League as I didn't do any games in Nitromath the past week due to me feeling demotivated that you were given no achievements for promoting leagues in Nitromath. I do 1 race on this day. July 20th through July 22nd. I don't do any races due to the fact I wanted to get into an easier Expert League against people that aren't as competitive. This ends my retirement era. July 23rd. I learned that Tommy's leaderboard is back to being updated. On this leaderboard, I placed 7th place, which surprised me due to the fact I had been very inactive as of recent. However, there was a lot of people that were not counted on this leaderboard due to their past botting, so I was most likely in the top 15 instead of 7th. I stopped updating my spreadsheet at this point as I was kind of done with racing this season in any serious manner. This leaderboard, however, made me reconsider retiring for the season. I ended the day with 52 races. I also asked the Nitrotype Discord about how often they think they encounter the Wampus. I did this for a video I was recording, the link of which will be provided in the description. July 24th. You can see I screenshot a bunch of my race stats so they can be cataloged for the future. This is very helpful for a video like this, as they only backtrack by 90 days. I end the day off with 100 races. July 25th, no races. July 26th. You can see in this screenshot that Talk, despite its inactivity, is still ranked 7th this season, as it was unbanned from NTCOMPs at some point, most likely on this day. Talk was still banned on Tommy's leaderboard due to its past botting during the season. I also barely do enough races to qualify for Champions League in Nitrotype. I also promote to Masters League in Nitromath. This is also when the first batch of players get to Legends League, including my friend Zisc. Races. 27th to 28th of July. No races done. July 29th. Due to the activity ramping up this season, I go down to 10th place. I do 54 races this day. July 30th. I get my fastest no mistake race on Nitrotype ever of 138 words per minute. My fastest is 139 words per minute. DylanJ friended me on this day in Nitrotype. I end the day with 95 races. July 31st. I do 5 races. August 1st. We move into our next Airbnb. I also got to be in a very active Nitromath friend game. I end the day with 180 races in an effort to try and promote to Masters League. August 2nd. I get a new PB on Nitromath in a game against Augman. I also hit level 500 on this day as well. I stay in Champions League after trying my best to get into qualifying for Masters League. I promote to Epic League in Nitromath. I end the day with 357 races, the most I had done in over 3 weeks. August 3rd and August 4th, no racing. August 5th. I realized that I'm doing all these Nitromath games and none of them are counting towards anything, as it displays I haven't done any game to have me participate in an Epic League. At some point Adrian, the admin, friended me. I have no idea when he did this. I also noticed since I had over 1,000 friends, when I accepted Dylan's friend request, it didn't register, so he sent another one. I ended the day with 153 races. August 6th. Due to my recent activity, I also go back up to 8th. Also, Vesperia gets banned from the leaderboard, which also helped with my ascension. Also around this time, Tommy adds Nitromath leaderboards, which displays my 1350 Nitromath session from December of 2023 on the top of the leaderboard, which is extremely satisfying. I end the day with 115 races. August 7th. I end the day with 292 races with an average words per minute of 117. August 8th. I tie my PB of 49 in a round against the #1 player in Nitromath for that season, known Copper Tortoise, who was also the first person to get to Nitromath League's Legends League. I also began working on other Nitromath modes for a competition I was going to do. I got 44 on single-digit multiplication, although my real PB was 46 on this mode. I got PBs in most of the other modes as well, in Nitromath as well. I end the day with 139 races. August 9th. I do enough races to barely qualify for the Masters League in Nitrotype. I also have to do a ridiculous number of games in Nitromath in order to qualify for Nitromath Legends Leagues, as I quit doing games earlier in the week, thinking they weren't getting counted. Then randomly, on the second to last day before leagues were changed, I was all of a sudden thrown into a league where everyone else was hundreds of games ahead of me. It was going to be pretty hard to go back and forth between Nitrotype and Nitromath in order to promote in both leagues at the same time. But I was able to accomplish this and became the 12th person to get Nitromath Legends League. I also got to Nitrotype Masters League. I proceeded to stay in Masters League for the rest of the season due to my lack of Nitrotype, the lack of motivation to do Nitrotype. I made a video about this. The link will be in the description. AllState also gets 300,000 races on this day as well. This forces me to update my spreadsheet later in the day. I also appeared in the top 50 the first time in over a month for the 24-hour leaderboard. I end the day with 252 races. August 10th. Due to the amount of past botters, I was able to be on the top 100 all-time racers leaderboard for the very first time. I also hit level 550 on this day. Coop is also banned from the leaderboard for past botting. I end the day with 127 races. August 11th. I end the day with 203 races with an average word per minute of 119. August 12th. Tommy adds the first milestones tab to his leaderboard, thus allowing everyone to see who were the first people to hit Legends Leagues in Nitrotype. I also got a new high speed of 151 words per minute, which is very random as I was not particularly fast that day. I just had a really good race and didn't choke at the end. I end the day with 262 races with an average word per minute of 118. August 13th. I do 113 races with an average of 118 words per minute. August 14th. I end the day with 110 races with 117 word per minute average. August 15th. I do 50 races with an average of 116 words per minute. This is it. The final 2 weeks of the season. This is when League started really showing the cracks in, glitching out and all that. August 16th, I promote to Nitromath Legends League Tournament. However, I encounter a strange glitch where when I do another game, it promotes me to the next tier of Legends League. So, when I did another game, it promoted me to the semifinals. Then, I did another game, and it promoted me to the finals. When I got to finals, it showed me the players that were actually supposed to be in Nitromath Legends Finale, but I could only view them. It wouldn't actually let me be a part of it. After I did another game, it looped me back to Legends Tournament. For the rest of that Nitromath session, it would keep looping me through this cycle until it stopped after I didn't do any games for a while. Also, the Wildflower 1 million card gets leaked to the public. I end the day with 113 races with an average word per minute of 115. August 17th. I continued doing Nitromath games. However, I didn't do any Nitrotype games after my failure to promote from Masters Leagues the day previously. So, when I logged into Nitrotype for the first time in a day and a half, I encountered this on my screen. Here are some screenshots about the encounter. For more information as to how I obtained the Corsa Ultima, I highly recommend watching the video about it. The video link is in the description. It's one of my best videos. I don't do any races on this day, as all the races I did were after 5 o'clock p.m. August 18th. I did 41 races with a 112 word per minute average. August 19th. The Corsa Ultima gains a new animation and thus becomes playable on the racetrack. I discovered this very late in the day, which means I did all my racing before this discovery. It still shows me able to view the Nitromath Legends Finale League, despite me supposedly being in the Nitromath Legends tourney. I ended the day with 87 races, with an average word per minute of 112. August 20th. I do a bunch of friend racing, so I can make a video on the Corsa Ultima's new animation look on the racetrack. However, all this was minuscule compared to Wildflower's getting 1 million races in Nitrotype. I was unfortunately not in the friend race that got her 1 million races. I was, however, able to race with her shortly afterwards with the Corsa Ultima in a video that will be linked in the description. I also got a new average personal best of 130 words per minute while racing against Wildflower. I also got 140 words per minute a normal race, and then 141 words per minute, which was the closest 140s I had gotten up to this point. I ended the day with 88 races with a word per minute average of 115. August 21st. Our team at this point is barely able to hold to our position in Epic Leagues. This was mainly due to Zisc doing an insane amount of races in order to get the Corsa Ultima from winning the Nitrotype League finale. I ended the day with 147 races and 114 word per minute average. August 22nd. I did 142 races with a 114 words per minute as the average speed. August 23rd. Parzival friended me, as well as Internet left, which is very surprising since he'd retired many months ago, so I was very surprised when he friend requested me. This was very important due to him having over 300,000 races, and being one of the few that hadn't friended me up to this point. I also got to level 600 on this day, video link in the description. I ended up staying in Nitrotype Masters League, and I got cycled back to Nitromath Legends League. I ended the day with 215 races, an average of 113 words per minute. August 24th to August 25th, I don't do any races. August 26th, I ended the day with 83 races at a speed of 112 words per minute. August 27th, I did 12 races at an average of 119 words per minute. August 28th, I participated in Wolfey's 290,000th race. This was my current standing in the Nitrotype Masters League. I did 11 races at an average word per minute of 106. August 29th, I did 5 races at an average speed of 100 words per minute. August 30th, I had to type on my phone for the last 3 days, but this was my league placement for the Nitromath Leagues at this time. I did 85 races at an average speed of 68 words per minute. August 31st, I did 67 races at an average speed of 45 words per minute. I recorded me getting 3 million points before the season ended. Video link in the description. September 1st, mere hours before the season ended, DylanJ got 300,000 races. However, I was not able to be in the race due to scheduling issues. I concluded the day with 22 races at an average of 41 words per minute. Conclusion and final thoughts on season 53. In conclusion, I achieved 20,382 races with a total point accumulation of 3,139 points. I was ranked 15 on Tommy's leaderboard and 24th on NTCOMPs. However, I would have placed much higher if I didn't join NTCOMPs a week and a half late into the season. This season was the most fun I've ever had in Nitrotype, and I made so many friends and had achieved things in Nitrotype I never thought I would ever do. Congrats to Onions for getting 10 million points this season. I really don't know how he did it, but that is very impressive nonetheless. I also wanted to shout out a few people that helped me along the way. and really motivated me throughout the season. They are Onion, It's Pickles, Coop, Mirciy, Oreo, Survivor, DylanJ, Vielle, Augman, SkyNT, Jaden, Tommy14, and Ilikecheeseburger. Their channel links and racer links will be in the description below. I also wanted to give a special mention to two people that stuck with me and became good friends with me throughout the entire Nitrotype season. Wolfey YouTube and Zisc on top. I will always cherish the memories we had together throughout the season, and thanks for motivating me to keep on going with racing and Nitrotype content in general. This season really was the most fun I've ever had in years with Nitrotype, and so many things happened this season, and I wanted to document it all. I will always remember this season with good memories. Thank you guys so much for watching. The script is almost 10,000 words long and took 28 hours to make, so this is by far the most time and effort I've ever put into a video, and I really hope you guys enjoy the video. And with that said, that is my Season 53 retrospective. Thank you guys so much for watching.